broadcasting live from WOYK's downtown studios at Santander Stadium. Talking York's home teams. Welcome to York College Spartans Sports Weekly on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. Now, here are your hosts of Spartan Sports Weekly, Daryl Henry and Scott Geis.
Dramatic opening. Welcome once again, everyone, to York College Spartans Sports Weekly. I'm Daryl, that's Scott, and welcome back, Scott. Ready for another week of hoops? It was a tough week last week, but we always look ahead, and hopefully the week to come proves to be a little more fruitful.
Certainly, I think a positive mental attitude is key here. Rough week, but coming up, you look at the schedule over the next couple of weeks. The Spartans are going to have an opportunity to, get healthy, so to speak. So hopefully they can take advantage of the opportunities that are coming up in the next week, and we'll have better stuff to talk about next week.
Well, we'll talk women's and men's hoops on this show, and wrestling's been in action as well here during the course of the semester break, which pretty soon here will be coming to a close, and the campus will be a lot more lively place once again. It's been a little bit quiet during the day, but one thing that you can rest assured that you'll see when you walk through the building is one of the basketball teams practicing, and they've had the opportunity to do some two-a-days during this time and really focus on that. It's kind of an interesting time of year. They're pretty much it for on campus, so it's a lot of quiet time elsewhere, but a chance for them to focus on some stuff too.
Also gives me an opportunity to get a lot of stuff done. We've been doing a lot of bio work on our upcoming spring athletes, and certainly that's a large task considering we have 9 teams that are in action during the spring, and that first spring game is February 14th, men's lacrosse at Stevenson. So, we're about a month away from that opening up, which is just kind of crazy to me, especially as you look outside and it's just absolutely miserable and gross today. So there will be no golf being played today at all.
Afraid not. But lacrosse is an all-weather game, Scott.
It is.
The show must go on.
The show must go on, and thankfully most of the times you can shovel the turf and plow it and have it ready to play. But those guys, actually, both teams, men and women, come back on a week from today. They start practice, which is just... It's unbelievable. That to me signals the end of winter break, because you just know that once the spring team starts practicing in earnest for real, you've gotten to the point where sooner than later they're going to be playing. So that kind of makes our office a little bit busier, and also really signals the hopefully the change to some warmer, nicer weather. Though I still think we're a little ways off from that.
By the way, a question just popped into my head as we talk about this.
That's what that look was?
Yeah, that was it. It wasn't what I ate. It was a legit question. Does weather play a real role in how a lacrosse game is played? I mean, does it affect... Do you ever see that?
I think the only true weather it affects is sometimes if it's real windy, it can have an effect on the flight of the ball, but that's usually over a longer distance. If it's a longer pass, that can have a little play in it. Sometimes if it's really cold, sticks will break, so that's another aspect that comes into play in lacrosse. But for the most part, those guys are pretty tough. They're pretty padded up. Actually, it's the guys I feel bad for, the guys on the sidelines, guys who aren't playing. When you're out there running around, it's not nearly as bad. But when you are sitting on the sidelines and it is windy and cold and nasty, that's not a whole lot of fun. Especially, we open up with a night game, so that to me that's going to be a pretty brutally cold night more often than not. So really, that's the only effect the weather has on lacrosse in general. Now, obviously, with baseball and softball, it's a whole different animal. You talk about field conditions and all that stuff with not having turf. It's the one benefit of turf is you can pretty much plow it and play. Unfortunately, we're not in that situation yet. There's some schools that are in the area that are starting to look at turf, install turf for baseball, and that's kind of a game changer because that allows you to not only play games but more importantly get out and practice. Usually the first time we're on the field is we're playing games, and that's not always conducive to a quick start sometimes, which is why if you looked over the years at our records early in the season, they're probably not real good because we just haven't been outside.
Yeah, I do remember years past. It seems like some of those early season games, the the chances of actually getting those in when they're scheduled are not always.
It's very, very slim. I mean, if you're not traveling south, you're probably not starting your season until the second or third week of March. And then all of a sudden, I feel bad for our student athletes sometimes because games get so condensed and so packed together that it's really hard. I think baseball and softball, especially because they're playing the sheer volume of games that they play over the course of the year, it is certainly you would love to see the season go deeper into May to give them nicer weather, but the fact of the matter is the regular season's over, I believe, May 10th or somewhere in that general ballpark, and then the NCAA tournament starts next weekend. So, you don't have a lot of time. It's pretty spring in our office, and probably every athletic communications office in the country is incredibly chaotic. And as the earlier it starts, we never played a lacrosse game before the beginning of March back in the old days. Well, now we have 4 of them, I think. So it's just kind of crazy, and that's just how it goes. And that's until there's legislation set forth saying that there's an official start date, that's not going to change.
Well, there's our opening segment tangent that we've gotten off on, but it is interesting stuff, and those seasons will be here before we know it. But like we said, a lot of basketball to talk about on this show, and wrestling as well. We will have the return of Uncle Scott later in the hour, and let's face it, last week I tried to say that I didn't rip it off the Thursday show. I did.
Well, I think we should just rename it Old Guy Radio. That's what I think we need to. That's what I think we need to call it. Because I'm old, and it's radio, so just call it Old Guy Radio.
And I'm getting older than I was last week. And also, by the way, coming up tonight on Sports Radio 1350, high school hoops, Dallastown at Dover at 7. That game is on, despite the weather around the area today. And our next basketball broadcast, just to preview what's ahead in the station, Wednesday night, of course, from Frostburg State at 5:45. So
now I got to take in some high school basketball on Friday.
Yeah,
I actually went down to Redline to see the backyard brawl between Redline and Dallastown, and certainly an exciting game, if not a very long game. I forgot.
Oh, really?
Sometimes high school games we didn't get home till well after 10:15, 10:30. So it was a full day of action at Redline, but it was a good game. Good game to watch, though, as somebody who resides in the Redline district, it did not come out in the favor of the Lions, but that's okay. So a lot of fun, great atmosphere. It was a really cool atmosphere at Redline. I've only been to a couple games there, but this was pretty full. Both fan groups very having the gym very full, so it was a lot of fun to see and a lot of fun to watch.
I know Saturday night, as we were getting back from the trip to Salisbury, we had a chance to showcase the Grumbacher Center to the high school crowd again with the Donnie Schwartz Memorial Classic. And I always laugh, I always think of this. Last year, I believe it was, we were coming back, and there was a high school game letting out, and the one school's group of cheerleaders saw our coach bus pull up, and they thought it was for the other high school team that they were playing against, and they're like, they showed up in a coach bus tonight? And I didn't say. I let them believe whatever they wanted to think, but it is nice to host the number of high school games that we do, and showcase the building to some other folks from around the district.
Well, I think it's such a wonderful facility, and I think you get the opportunity to have kids not only play there and see the facility, but you also get parents, you get siblings who, maybe before York College wasn't on the radar, and they go, wow, this is a great building, and then they, look into it more, and I think one thing that we've done a great job with is that building's incredible, and it's, if you haven't ever had a chance to be there, go. It's been around since 2006 now, which just amazes me to think that this building has been in place for so long, but it's a great facility. It's really, really well run. Our staff does a fantastic job of making it look like it's new, and I think that's a credit to those people, and they just do an awesome job with that. So I got a call from a buddy who had come over for the game and was just like, this is an incredible facility, this is awesome, really love it. And when you get reactions like that, it's really cool to see other people appreciate how nice a facility we have.
Yeah, I think sometimes on game night, I'm used to being in there, and it's after the fact when I see pictures of it that it really stands out, just how bright and beautiful it is compared to a lot of the places that we play.
Yeah, I'm sure when you go on the road, it can be a little, this is no Grumbacher. And certainly I think that's the case for a lot of places. Now, there's been a ton of schools that have built new facilities that are nice. I still think they're probably not as nice as what our building is. And again, credit goes to our staff, who does a fantastic job of taking care of that building and really presenting every time that we have groups in from the outside. I think they put their best foot forward, and it really becomes a showcase for not only the athletic department but York College as a whole. And I think you walk around campus and see the transition it's made in the last 15 years. It's pretty amazing. It's pretty incredible, and certainly a great place for our kids to go to school.
We've had a lot of road games here recently, and another one Wednesday. Actually, we're going to be at home this coming Saturday, but then on the road for another 2 in a row. So a lot of road games during this portion of the schedule. But next home basketball doubleheader, that is this coming Saturday at 1 and 3 against Southern Virginia. And not to put any bulletin board material out there, but I think we've gotten to a point in the schedule where hopefully the teams can find the win column a little bit more so this week at Frostburg State, especially on the women's side. They've really struggled, and Southern Virginia, who's their first year after being a provisional member in the CAC last year, just transferring to Division III status. Obviously, they're going to be a little bit behind where a lot of other teams are. So hopefully the Spartans can take advantage of what's coming up this week, and a few more positive items to discuss at this time a week from now.
Well, I think you look at it, we're pretty much exactly halfway through the season. I don't think anybody's record is where we would like to have it. But the fact of the matter is that, both of these teams are the women's team's more is trying to reload, the men's team's trying to build up, and the frustrating thing I know especially is when the talent's there and it's just having trouble translating to on the floor. That's, I think, frustrating things for coaches. And hey, the women's team played a great game Saturday against Salisbury. They didn't play badly against Marymount either. The biggest thing is just getting that talent to convert to what we're doing on the floor, and it takes a while to get used to. I mean, we're playing so many kids that have never really played prominent roles before. It's hard, and we have seniors that are experienced but not that experienced, and it's hard to rely on. And so it's a tricky situation because you're giving these kids playing time. Some kids have really stepped up to the challenge. Sarah Shear has been fantastic. She's done a really good job. Brianna Bishie continues to get better and better and better at the point guard. So you have, Sam Ruse has really probably been, you can make the argument, it's probably been our best player this year. Now, she played a lot as a freshman, but not nearly as many minutes as she's had to play this year. So I think the continual evolution is something worth watching. And I also think, too, you watch the second half of this schedule, you'd like to see them continue to compete. You like to see them win some games and get that feeling of, one of the comments Coach made when we were texting back and forth after the game is, if I said basically if we play like this the rest of the year, we're going to be fine. And her response was, well, we need to get some wins because, I think the pressure to win, one, and then the two, you do all this work, come close, and then don't win. It's a frustrating thing. So, I think she just wants to get some wins for her kids so they start feeling a little bit better about what they're doing and see, reap some of the rewards of the hard work that they're putting in. Yeah, and this year, Salisbury is the clear-cut favorite on the women's side in the CAC, and the Spartans played one of their best games of the year against that opponent. If they play like that against most other teams, they're going to win. Well, what it comes down to is they shot the ball really well. Yep. They shot the ball so much better than what they've been shooting. The stats are really staggering. We've only shot over 40% twice this year, and the first one was in the 102-point, performance against Casanova, which obviously they're probably not real good. Yep. But to do it against Salisbury on the road in a tough environment is certainly a positive sign. This team can shoot the ball. You watch, I've sat and watched practice, and you see that they can put the ball in the hoop, and it's just a matter of carrying that over, having the maturity and experience to be able to convert that into what you're doing on the floor. Yeah, well, we will get into more of that as we head to our next segment here. This is your College Spartans Sports Weekly. You can find us also online, WOYK1350.com. Always linked up to YCPSpartans.com as well. WOYK mobile apps. You can find us there on the go. And also, we should mention a couple of the student-athlete interviews that we've got on this program. If you missed those from earlier in the week, Sarah Shearer
who we mentioned has played very well of late. She will be on with us, and Matt Scamuffo from the men's team as well. So a lot to get to. We've got our Spartan Athlete of the Week named as well. We'll dissect that. Had another nice performance from that award winner this week. So a lot more to get to as the hour continues. Keep it right here on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
Turning a double play takes teamwork, and so does preparing for life's challenges. Murray Securus works with you, hand in hand, providing thoughtful solutions to help you plan for the future. Team up with Murray Securus for safer, more secure risk management, personal insurance, health benefits, wealth management, even cutting-edge human resource solutions for individuals and small to large businesses. Living life in a winning way just takes a little teamwork. Call Murray Securus today at 397-9600 or go to murrayins.com.
Blazing fast service for all of your wipeouts. OSS Health Urgent Care will take care of all of your muscular and skeletal sprains, pops, twists, and breaks in minutes, not hours. Open 7 days a week for your urgent orthopedic needs. Now at 2 convenient locations, 1855 Powder Mill Road in York and 856 Century Drive in Mechanicsburg. Visit us online at osshealth.com. OSS Health Urgent Care. Experience you can trust.
Dad, I'm home. Why am I not surprised to find you laying on the couch?
Oh, hi, son. Is your fall semester over already?
Yep, I love it at York College, and I really like living on campus this year.
Yeah, that reminds me. We need to have a little talk. You know, about the facts of life.
Dad, we had that talk years ago. And anyway, I don't believe you ordered me from Amazon.com.
I mean, your mom and I are helping to pay for your college as much as we can, but now you've got room and board on top of books and tuition, and you haven't asked me once for money.
Dad, I told you last year that York Educational Federal Credit Union took care of all that. That student choice loan we applied for last year was a one-time application. All I have to do this year is tell them how much I need, and they send the money right to the school. The loan is set up similar to my Stafford loan, so I don't have to start making payments until 6 months after I graduate. I told you YEFCU rocks.
College has been good for you, son. You're smarter already.
York Educational Federal Credit Union, 1601 South Queen Street, York. Apply online at yefcu.org. Federally insured by NCUA.
Teams looking to build momentum for the stretch run meet in the high school basketball game of the week presented by WellSpan Sports Medicine Monday night. I'm Ron Ruman. Join Andy Bria and me as Dallastown visits Dover. The Wildcats got a huge win over rival Red Lion Friday, but dropped a non-league contest to Eastern Saturday. Dover took a beating from division foe Northeastern over the weekend. Teams looking for district playoff points meet as Dover hosts Dallastown, Monday at 7 on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
Your home for York's home team. The York College Spartans play here. Sports Radio 1350 WOYK, York.
Back here on York College Spartans Sports Weekly, Daryl Henry along with Scott Geis. And Scott, talk some more women's hoops here in this segment. And earlier today, a developing story that we're following here in the program.
Breaking news.
Breaking news. Shea Wassel named this week's Spartan Athlete of the Week and continuing to excel. And I was very impressed with what she did Wednesday, coming off a flu bug that was nasty enough to prevent her from even making the trip to Christopher Newport the previous weekend. And then Saturday at Salisbury, she was one of the most effective on the floor for York. Tremendous finesse player down low. I hope that's an okay way to describe her. She's terrifically athletic down there.
No, I think it's a very accurate way to describe her. You know, Shea's not gonna Kristen Haley or Brittany Hicks you. She's not gonna just physically be stronger than you. What she's gonna do is she's gonna be able to kind of slide around you, be able to finish it. Some very interesting angles. You know, she's got that underneath, up and under move down pat where she kind of goes to the other side of the bucket and just flips it up over her head, which has proven to be very effective. But Shea, like all of our seniors, is coming to the later half of their senior year, and that's that can sometimes be a very motivating factor to play as hard as you possibly can because it's almost over, and I say almost over. We still have at least a month and a half left of season, so it's not like it's ending tomorrow. But the fact of the matter is, the end of the season is closer than the beginning is. So I think you see these kids and they just they want to play well and they want to do good things. And certainly Shay's really turned it on the last 2 games and really has played well for most of the year for us. She has 6 double-doubles and has really, really been playing well as of late.
Yeah, Wednesday against Marymount, 20 points, 7 rebounds, and then Saturday, 22 points and 10 rebounds for Shay. So congratulations to her. One of the younger players that has done very well for herself here lately, Scott, is Sarah Shearer, and played herself right into the starting lineup on Saturday afternoon.
Well, I think the big difference with her this year is really she's healthy. And I think last year, coming off the ACL injury at the end of her, or mid-late part of her high school senior year, she wasn't really 100% last year, and quite frankly, she wasn't going to play in front of the kids that we had anyhow.
Yeah.
Even if she was healthy, I think. But she's really come into her own. She's a really good kid. She's somebody who's worked hard and put herself in position to be an effective player for us, and certainly she's done a really good job. And it's certainly been one of the bright spots this year is Sarah's development and she's continuing to play better. You see, she's more confident. You watch how she plays, and she's looked really good the last couple of weeks, and I'm happy for her because she's put the time in and certainly has worked hard.
Well, earlier this week, she was kind enough to take the time to join us, and if you missed our conversation with Sarah at halftime on Wednesday's game, we've got that for you right now. Sarah Shearer joining us earlier this week. Well, Sarah, thanks a lot for the time tonight, and it certainly seems like you're getting comfortable in the flow of things and in your role. What's the process been like for you early this season and, kind of establishing yourself in that way?
Well, it was pretty hard because none of us were coming from losing 4 big seniors, and none of us really had that much experience. So just getting a handle on being able to get out on the court, getting minutes that we might not have gotten last year. It's been a big change, but I think a lot of us are getting used to it and stepping up.
And I know last year you were still coming off the knee injury in high school and everything. How difficult of a process was that, and is it completely behind you now?
It was hard at first. I was very hesitant because I was always worrying about my knee and if I'm going to hurt it again. But yeah, it's definitely behind me now. I got rid of my knee brace completely, so just kind of don't even think about it now.
Not to drudge up bad memories, but how did it happen?
It was not too far into my senior high school season, and the point guard was throwing me a pass, and another girl and I, we just jumped up for the pass at the same time, and it just landed and came down wrong.
Had you already decided on York, and were you in touch with Coach Whitman already to, kind of iron that out, since obviously, unfortunately, you weren't able to continue with your senior season?
Yeah, I committed right after I scored my 1,000 point, which I can't remember. It was either 1 or 2 games right before I tore my ACL.
Yeah. Well, and obviously coming from a really good program at West York, as you think back on it, what's maybe one of the highlights that stands out from your high school days?
Definitely winning our division. We won it 2 years in a row, so that was definitely a big accomplishment.
Do you still follow the program?
Yeah, I go back. One of the players that I played with just scored their 1,000 points, so I go back and watch some of the games sometimes.
Carrie Langford, right?
Yeah, Carrie.
Yeah, very good. Talking with Sarah Shearer, and from a team standpoint, it seems like you guys are really close. Did a lot of things well, I thought, Saturday. Do you feel like you're really close to kind of turning the corner and going on a run?
Definitely. I think once we played against Hope, that was definitely us turning the corner. I think it's all starting to come together now. We're getting a chemistry that we might not have had before, and we're definitely starting to play more of a team.
There's no doubt it's been a tough schedule, but do you like that as a player? Do you like going up against really good opponents in the region and, like you mentioned, Hope out of the region?
Yeah, I definitely like playing harder teams more than taking the easier route. I think sometimes when we play the easier teams, we kind of play down to their level, but if we play a tougher team, I think we tend to do better than playing a worse team.
Last week was probably the most grueling travel that you guys will have all year, but with being on school break, was that kind of a fun time to get away and be on the road and just focus on team aspects and stuff?
Yeah, it was definitely fun. It's something to do rather than just sitting at home being bored on break, but it's definitely fun when we get to be on the road and travel places we haven't been before.
Talking with Sarah Shearer. Well, growing up, was basketball always your favorite? Were you always a fan of the game? Any teams or players that you rooted for?
My brothers always played basketball, and my dad was always a big fan. So basketball's always been in my family, and I just kind of was brought into it because my brothers mainly. But as far as the number one player, I don't know. My family always liked the Sixers, so I was always a big Sixers fan, but I think that's changed a little now.
Do you disagree with the approach of what they're doing with, obviously playing for higher draft picks and everything?
I don't know. I don't really follow it too much. I have a couple favorite players, and I just watch them mainly.
Yeah, that's the big debate around Philly these days, certainly. And any other sports that you played growing up?
I played volleyball for 2 years in high school, and I just kind of grew out of it, didn't really enjoy it as much as I thought I would, so I stopped playing that and just pretty much focused on basketball.
Any other interests away from the court, or are you pretty much, sports-oriented?
Yeah, pretty much just sports-oriented and hanging with my family and friends. Nothing major.
Well, and we usually wrap up, with schooling and kind of what you're looking at. And I know at least before the season you were undeclared. Do you kind of have, are you leaning one way or the other as you look toward the spring semester?
Yeah, I just declared I'm going to be business administration now. I'm not exactly sure what I want to do with it, but definitely something business related.
Well, very good, Sarah. Thank you very much for taking the time tonight, and best of luck against Marymount.
Thank you.
All right, and that was before the Marymount game on Wednesday, so if you missed that, glad to have Sarah on earlier this week and then today as well. And Scott looking ahead again this week at Frostburg on Wednesday, home against Southern Virginia Saturday. Pretty important week for the Spartans, standings-wise, and then they go to St. Mary's next Wednesday, and if they can put together a nice little stretch here, they're right back in the thick of being in a running for a playoff spot at this point.
I think that's the important thing. You want to be in that top six. And I think that this team can be in the top six at the end of the year. Other than Salisbury, I'm not sure that there's a great team out there. Obviously, Christopher Newport's solid. Mary Washington's good. But, other than Salisbury, I'm not sure that there's any great team out there. I think we can match up with anybody. So the important thing is just get in it. Be able to get yourself in that top six. And, quite honestly, the next 3 games coming up are games that if you want to get in the top 6, you need to be able to perform well. And I think the focus for the team is just go out and play. Keep playing the way they've been playing the last couple of weeks. Keep feeling confident in what you're doing. Go out, have that approach of, we're going to go out and we're going to play well and give ourselves a chance to win. So I think that ultimately, these next 3 games, if you're able to do your work here, you're in a much better position to put yourself in the running for a playoff spot. So I think the focus is that. It's the second half of the year. We have nothing but conference games left. Mm-hmm. So really the focus is on each and every game to do what you can do to compete and give yourself a chance to win.
And for those that may not be familiar with the format, it's exactly like the NFL. Not as many teams, but when you get to the top 6, the top 2 have byes, and then 3 through 6 play each other that first day. So trying to get one of those top 6 seeds indeed, and that will be the focus. And Wednesday night we're on at 5:45 for the next one from Frostburg.
Yeah, I don't think either one of us know what it's like to be in the playoffs recently for our football team. So, certainly not this year. Certainly not this year. So
no,
that's all good.
Scott's a proud Browns fan, and I couldn't believe the Eagles, my team, they have not won a playoff game in 6 years. They have not won one at home in 8 years. It's hard to believe. They've had some pretty decent teams along the way, but we are licking our wounds here.
Someday I'll know what the playoffs are like. Someday. Right now, I live vicariously through my wife, who's a big Packers fan. So yesterday it was pretty loud in my house yesterday.
Yeah, well, happy for her, I guess. We'll take a break here on York College Spartans Sports Weekly and talk some men's hoops. When we come back, Matt Scamuffo joins us this week as well. We talked with him earlier in the week, a freshman who's off to a terrific start to his college career. So if you missed that on Wednesday, he's our feature interview on this program as well. Also wrestling later on in the show, and a nice discussion on our Uncle Scott segment coming up, something that caught my eye when we were sitting courtside at Salisbury on Saturday, and we'll get into those topics. So stay tuned. We'll be back after this here on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
Hi, I am Cindy Scullion, one of the proud owners of Frank Storm & Company. We have been voted one of the best for 14 years by the York Dispatch readers for your personal and business tax needs. Call one of my partners or competent staff to set up your tax appointment for your 2014 taxes. We also can handle doing payrolls, sales tax, and compilations for your businesses. Give us a call at one of our 3 convenient locations, York, Dallastown, and Hanover.
Hey athletes, does the winter weather dampen your sports training? It doesn't have to. Take your game inside at Backyard University, York's spectacular indoor sports training facility, right at home in your backyard. Located inside Fairmont Gym at 201 South Charles Street in Red Lion, Backyard University is a beautiful, state-of-the-art indoor complex for all of your sport needs. Featuring a complete baseball and softball training complex with batting cages, pitching tunnels, and a turf field for the entire team, Backyard hosts camps, clinics, and competitive youth travel teams to play in the region's top tournaments. Join York Revolution greats Jason Espedo, Daryl Harang, and Corey Thurman for one-on-one training. And take your speed and agility to a whole new level with professional trainer David Brixius from Explosive Sports Performance. Play your game year-round at Backyard University, right at home in your backyard. Visit online at backyard-university.com.
Security in life isn't something you just wish for. You build it with a strong financial plan. Start with Northwestern Mutual. Together, we'll design a disciplined and balanced approach to financial security, because reaching your goals is something we both want to work toward. To learn more, contact me, Dan McGarry, at my office on the Square in York. Look for the blue awnings. Who's helping you build your financial future? The Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
January and February are Caribbean months at Fender's Grill and Pub, located at the Wyndham Garden, York, formerly the Holiday Inn by the West Manchester Mall. Featuring chefs' Caribbean specialties and Caribbean drinks, plus Fender's regular menu. Visit Fender's to beat the winter blues and sign up for a chance to win a beach vacation. Register during January and February. The winner will be drawn on March 1st. Fender's is open daily for breakfast and dinner, for private parties, and we have live entertainment Friday nights. Fender's Grill and Pub, 2000 Louts Road in York. Come visit us today.
Pretty soon your family will be itching to break out of the cabin you've been cooped up in all winter. Let the kids loose and get your caboose to Festive Ice, York's first winter ice festival, presented by York Traditions Bank on January 16th and 17th at Santander Stadium. Food trucks, music, laser tag giveaways, and guys chiseling Yetis out of ice with chainsaws. And there's more. As a bonus, tickets get you in both days and are only $3 for kids 12 and under, $6 for ages 13 and up, and free for tykes 3 and under. Festivice.com.
We're Screamin' Green. How about you? The York College Spartans are on Sports Radio 1350, WOYK.
Here on York College Spartans Sports Weekly, talk a little men's hoops here in this segment. And Scott, you know, they the previous couple of games, Christopher Newport and Marymount, they played really well in the first half, but then it was a big run to start the second half that they weren't able to come back from, change the game, and you were kind of left, you know, disappointed with how the second 20 minutes went. Saturday, I really thought that they'd have a chance to go down on the road and put a full 40 minutes together, but Salisbury was red hot, got behind early, and you know, I think there was some disappointment among everybody with the team leaving that game. I think defensively, especially, that was where the biggest issue was, and you know, just struggling to get out and defend the three has been the big thing lately, and they weren't in zone on Saturday either. It was a mostly man-to-man game, and Salisbury still cranked up 33 attempts, I think it was, and made 15 of them. So that's been the biggest frustration, as you know, here lately. And I'm not really sure. I mean, obviously they're going to keep working, keep going, but you know, maybe just the quickness, the overall, not enough of that at this point to get out and defend those shots.
Well, I think you still remember, you know, we're basically in year 2 of trying to, you know, reload and get things back to a championship level or a championship contending level, and you know, the pieces aren't all in place yet. And part of that is you have to I'm sure people are sick and tired of, we're making excuses for him. But the fact of the matter is, if you're going to rebuild something the right way, or you're going to build something up the correct way, you're going to take your lumps. And we certainly, the last couple games, have taken our lumps against good teams. And, I'll be the first one to admit, I texted you on Saturday and said, we're going to win this game. And I couldn't have been more wrong. And I think it's just the way it goes sometimes. You don't play well, combining with another team playing at home, playing well. The game against Marymount, the final score is not really indicative of the quality of the game. We had the lead and was playing pretty well. And just, it seems like we give up the one run every game. And sometimes it's a little bigger, sometimes a little smaller. But the inability to get stops. And a lot of times it's not getting stops because you're giving up offensive rebounds. I think that's the tough thing. You play really hard, 27, 28 seconds, you force a shot, and then you don't get the rebound. And that, to me, is one of the areas where this team really gets hurt a lot, is not being able to secure that first rebound and giving up those second chance points. And I think that's an area that we have to get better at to really see a monumental jump in performance. So I think it can be a little bit deceiving because, again, you have the situation where you're getting stops on the initial shot and you're not able to get that rebound, and that just kills us. It feels like there have been so many times this year, especially at home, where we play really good defense for a possession and just don't get the rebound, and then it's a quick hitter, boom, all of a sudden it's a 2 to 4 to 6 point turnaround because you're just not able to get that rebound. So I think that's one area that we need to get better at, and and we just need to keep improving as a team. Dalton Myers has been playing great this last couple weeks. He's really, really been good, but we haven't had anybody step up on the perimeter and really be better out there. Scamofo's had some moments where he's been really good. Wesner's had some moments where he's been good. But we need a couple more guys to step up and continue to play a little bit better. So, I know that there's a lot of frustration with Coach going on right now because, he wants to win. He wants to compete. But he's also been really good about focusing on the long-term success and what we want to accomplish as a program. So, weeks like this don't make it easy. But I guarantee they're back at work today, and they're plugging away trying to get better, and they're going to have an opportunity to play some teams that quite frankly they should be able to beat coming up in the next couple weeks. So it'll be very interesting to see. It's certainly part of the schedule where you've kind of run that gauntlet of Christopher Newport and Marymount and Salisbury. Those are three probably the toughest games in the league this year. So they're going to get an opportunity to get a little healthier record-wise. And, they have to take advantage of it. Just because you're playing a weaker team doesn't always mean you're going to win. Yeah. You have to play well and take, really seize that opportunity. And much like the women, the goal is to get in the conference tournament. Get in the conference tournament and try and be a factor. And I think that's what our guys are working for. It's what our coaches are working for. And we're trying to put ourselves in that position.
Well, they already do have 2 conference wins, so they do have a chance to do that still this year. And I do think you mentioned giving up offensive rebounds. I do think that a handful of those outside shots that were made on Saturday came after that had happened, and of course you're not going to be in as good of a position to defend anything if you don't get the initial rebound. But is the overall defensive team defense, the quickness and all of that, is that also a product of another couple of recruiting classes and guys getting stronger and more athletic and having more depth to do those sort of things?
There's no question about that. I think you have to continue to improve physically. One of the big steps that Coach commented on at the beginning of the year was, during the Iron Spartan conditioning test, we graded out as a team significantly higher than what we had done the previous year. So it's continuing to get better. And, we haven't played a ton of man-to-man this year. A lot of it's been zone, and man-to-man concepts are a lot different. You have a lot more help defense. You have a lot of different responsibilities individually than you would in a zone defensive assignment. It's a little bit different, but defense is a lot of want to. Like, you just got to want to get out there and really guard guys and expend energy. And those second chance points are deflating. And you're exactly right. When you get long rebounds, you're not in great position to be able to defend 3, and a lot of times it's a one-pass situation where if it's a long rebound, you just kick it to the guy, and they're getting wide-open looks. So that's part of the problem. Part of the problem is, we've been gashed by long-distance shooting all year. That's that's not really a secret. And coach is trying to mix things up and play more man, get away from the zone a little bit to try and help that. And sometimes it doesn't help. You can make all the adjustments as a coach. Sometimes it doesn't help, but it doesn't mean they're not going to stop, or that they are going to stop working. They're going to continue to work hard and try and put themselves in the best position possible.
Well, like we mentioned beforehand, one guy that has done a nice job here lately, a freshman, and pretty excited about the way he's played recently, Matt Scamuffo. We were able to catch up with him also before that home game on Wednesday night, and if you missed it, we've got him lined up for today's show as well.
Well, Matt, thank you very much for joining us at halftime tonight. And coming into this one, you're 11 games into your college career. How would you assess it? What's it been like making the adjustment, and are you starting to get to a certain comfort level?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a big transition from the high school game into the college. It's a lot faster in the game. And then overall, all the players are much stronger. So I think now, coming down in the 11th game, I'm getting the hang of it and playing well with the team.
How would you characterize your role within the offense? I mean, we've seen the way that you can shoot, certainly get to the basket as well. If you had to describe what you're supposed to do, what would you say?
I would have to say score the basketball, but anything that coach wants me to do, that's what I'm willing to do.
And you guys are coming off shoot-around, getting ready for this game tonight, and I see you've got a sheet of scouting report info and everything. What's the process like of getting prepared for one game at this level and all of the stuff that coach gives you?
I think it's a lot more intense. There's a lot more that goes into the game in the college rather than high school. It's coming down to a lot of personnel, getting to know who you're playing, what their strengths and weaknesses are, and taking advantage.
Talking with Matt Scamuffo and the knee situation, you could not have come any closer to being cleared for the first practice. How's it? I guess give us the story of what happened. You were just telling me before the interview, but what happened and how does it feel now?
So I got hurt the end of January. Wasn't really sure the exact prognosis of it. Ended up coming back, playing a couple games, really wasn't myself. And then at the end of the season, I went to get an MRI, and it ended up being a torn ACL and both meniscus. So I had surgery in March, and normally with ACL tears with meniscus, it's about 7 to 10 months. And right at the 7th month period after surgery, I was cleared by the doctor. And that put me at October 14th, and the season started the 15th. So it was definitely lucky, I think, to be able to be cleared before the season. Then it was just a matter of working myself back into the game and just getting stronger.
Does it still ever bother you? I mean, it's really cold today. Does that bother it?
No, I mean, it's definitely good now. I did a lot of work with Nate in the beginning of the season, even before being cleared, just to build the strength up. And, it's feeling good. So.
Well, and you come to us from Central Bucks South. When you think back on your high school career, what are some of the top moments? Pretty good program there?
Yeah, it's a relatively new program. Our school was built, I think, 12 years ago. But yeah, had a really good relationship with our coaches. Played there for 3 years, from my sophomore year into my senior year. And, the best game that I've had was one of the last games I played before I injured my knee. I had 34. Just playing with the guys, being with them throughout my whole middle school career and then into my high school career was really, really fun.
And were you, basketball all the way, or did you have some other sports that you were interested in too?
In 9th grade, I played football as well, but then I was sort of becoming a little too small to play with the high school kids, so I just stuck with basketball from then.
How about growing up, favorite teams, players, whether it's pro or college, who do you root for?
All Philadelphia sports teams, the Eagles, Sixers, Phillies, and then for college, I like to watch Villanova.
Did the Eagles get it right with Chip Kelly?
I think so. I think it's still a building process, so hopefully they'll get a nice winning season again next year.
Well, and you guys are in break from classes right now, but I know you're a math major here in your freshman year. What are kind of your goals with that? And I know it's a ways off, but are you starting to get a sense of where you might want to go with that?
I think I want to take the actuarial science way with the mathematics degree. So that's kind of just business analytics almost, financial consulting and stuff. So I think that interests me.
All right, I'll leave that to you. That's more power to you. And we'll finish up with big picture with the team here. And obviously, you guys are young. Everybody knows that. But it seems to me like the process has been good, that you have gotten better and better each game. How do you guys kind of look at it? And do you sense that? Do you sense that day-to-day improvement even in practice?
Yeah, definitely. I think we've made huge strides from the beginning of the season. I think it was big learning how to play with each other, building the chemistry. I think it's continuing to grow throughout even now these practices coming up.
All right, well, Matt, thank you very much for the time tonight, and best of luck in this one.
Thank you for having me.
All right, well, that's Matt Scamafo and Scott. You know, they need to continue to build and get stronger and better, but they already have several young pieces that I think are going to be a lot of fun to watch in the years to come, and he's without question one of those pieces. He's
a really good shooter. It's fun to watch him work off screens and get himself up. And the thing I like about Matt's game is not only can he shoot it from three, but he's not afraid to go to the basket, and he also has a really nice mid-range game. You know, that 12 to 15-foot jump shot is almost kind of a lost art in college basketball anymore. There's not a ton of guys that can really knock it down. In fact, I had made the comment to Coach Whitman. That was one of the things that really impressed me about Salisbury is they had a ton of kids that just shot that 12 to 15-footer highly accurately.
Deadly from there Saturday.
That makes a huge difference because it opens everything up. But Matt does a really nice job. He's not afraid of putting the ball on the floor and really going to the basket. Really good free throw shooter, just a really good player overall, and he's going to continue to get bigger and stronger. You know, he's going to get better defensively. That's one area that making that transition from high school to college is always difficult, and I think that's an area where he's going to continue to get better. You know, be a better on the ball defender, but that's something that's going to come with time. And but right now, offensively, he's a pretty good product, pretty close to finished product as a scorer, and he's going to be a kid that's going to score. You know, if he can stay healthy, a bunch of points for us in his 4 years.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, we will take a timeout here. When we come back, we'll check in on the wrestling program and also our Uncle Scott segment. And to tease that, something I noticed on Saturday at Salisbury that irked me a little bit. So we're going to bring that up and get Scott's thoughts and maybe even from a little historical perspective as well, given that he is the uncle on the program. Stolen straight from our Thursday show. No bones about it. So keep it here. We'll be right back. Your College Spartans Sports Weekly here on Sports Radio 1350.
Get ready for winter now and save big on your heating oil or propane costs. Call today to schedule your first fill, and don't forget to ask our energy advisors about the right money-saving plan or budget to fit your lifestyle. Lock in your rate and protect your price all winter. Our price-protected customers save an average of $325 per year. Visit ShipleyEnergy.com or call 855-4SHIPLEY to schedule your next heating oil or propane delivery. Shipley Energy, energy for life.
At OSS Health, our highly trained physicians are on the field, in the training room, at home games, or away. From preseason physicals to postseason surgery, we're on the sidelines so athletes don't have to be, getting you back in the game. When it comes to sports medicine, we're the ones you've trusted for 30 years. OSS Health Sports Medicine, experience you can trust. Visit us online at osshealth.com. January and February are Caribbean months at Fender's Grill and Pub, located at the Wyndham Garden, York, formerly the Holiday Inn by the West Manchester Mall. Featuring chefs' Caribbean specialties and Caribbean drinks, plus Fender's regular menu. Visit Fender's to beat the winter blues and sign up for a chance to win a beach vacation. Register during January and February. The winner will be drawn on March 1st. Fender's is open daily for breakfast and dinner, for private parties, and we have live entertainment Friday nights. Fender's Grill and Pub, 2000 Louts Road and York. Come visit us today.
At Northwestern Mutual, we take a disciplined and balanced approach to financial planning. Together, we'll help build your financial future on time-tested principles, not market trends, so you can take advantage of life's opportunities. To learn more, contact me, Dan McGarry, at my office on a square in York. Look for the blue awnings. Who's helping you build your financial future? The Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Your home for the Spartans. Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
Well, some historical music for the historical part of our show coming up. First, though, it's wrestling. And, Scott, the wrestling team continues to roll along pretty nicely and a good showing this past week at a really prestigious tournament that they were at.
Yeah, they were up at the Bud Whitehill National Duels up in Williamsport, hosted by Lycoming College. Team went 3-2 as they finished 5th in the 16-team tournament. The Spartans were the number 2 seed going in, but suffered an upset loss to Williams 21-17 in a match that was really a little bit closer than the score indicated. The Spartans were storming back at the end and just kind of ran out of matches to be able to complete the comeback. But they picked up a 27-12 win over RIT, lost to Williams, and then beat Ohio Northern 22-15 in day one, and then beat Wisconsin Stevens Point 23-12 before falling to College of New Jersey 28-8 in the final game or final match of the tournament. So they finished 5th. They will return home on Friday night. They host Johns Hopkins at 7 o'clock, and then they head to Messiah this weekend for the East-West duels at Grantham. So it's a busy week for them, but a number of strong performances as they look to continue to kind of continue on their trek. You know, the goal is to get a bunch of kids to nationals, and which are at Hershey this year, which is going to be pretty cool. But certainly they are well on their way to doing that, and it was a really good weekend for York.
All right. Well, we wish them luck. Look forward to seeing them back home on Friday. And, Scott, it's time for our Uncle Scott segment of the show. And I was thinking this past weekend at Salisbury, normally we're always very positive on this program, and some of our listeners might say to a fault we are. I don't feel that way. But anyway, we're going to take a little bit different turn with this. I was a little irked. I was bothered by a few things that I saw on Saturday. And if any of our listeners notice, we were right next to the bench on Saturday. And, I probably could have kept the volume a little bit lower, but I wanted our listeners to feel like they were right there.
And they were.
Right next to our bench, and they were. But you know what bothered me?
What's that, Daryl?
And make no mistake, our officials do a wonderful job.
For the most part.
Almost all the time. But I was a little irked, and you used to sit courtside every game at the Old Wolf Gym.
Yes, I did.
So I'm sure we have some stories that we can get to here. But the thing that really bothered me Saturday, number one, the explanations are not very good on a lot of calls. I noticed that. And I'm not sour grapes here or anything. I just noticed that. And the other thing that really upset me is the way that some of the officials stare down the coaches. I mean, you don't need to make a show out of it. You understand that it's a heated game. The coaches are intense. Let them do what they need to do and go make the call at the other end of the court. You don't need to bring attention to it in front of everybody and stare them down and treat them like children. No. And I saw a lot of that Saturday, and that really, really bothered me sitting there seeing that. I know, like we said, you used to be there every game, and I'm sure you've seen way more of that than I have. But, just I didn't feel that some of those things were handled the best on Saturday when we were right there and able to see it clear as could be.
Well, first of all, we're very fortunate where we sit now is up top. It's better for my blood pressure. It's better for so many things. I think you have to realize that, the one thing that is really tough is you have groups of coaches. You have coaches that are demonstrative and are loud but don't show up officials. You have coaches that will go out of their way to show up officials and to be demonstrative against them. I think Coach Hunter he's a loud guy, but I don't think in any way, shape, or form is he disrespectful to officials. I particularly, and I was sitting at home listening and actually watching the Salisbury video feed, and then, of course, listening to you. The video is a little ahead of you, and I see the foul called on O'Sullivan, and all of a sudden they're marching down, and there's only one guy at the line. Well, that can only mean one thing: a technical foul. Well, what the heck did he do to get a technical foul? So as I'm continuing to listen and watch the broadcast, first of all, the technical foul is maybe one of the most ridiculous calls I've ever seen. He threw the guy to the ground. That's your explanation? That's not a technical foul. And first of all, if you watch the video, he didn't throw the guy down. He boxed him out. The guy fell down. Was there a little extra on the box out? Should have been a foul? Probably, but certainly not done in a way maliciously, not in a way to hurt anybody. I think you have to be really careful when you're talking about officials for the sheer fact of, most of them do a pretty good job. But there are times that there are some guys, we get the official assignments ahead of time. And I can tell you right now, the rest of the year, who we have, who's going to do a good job, who's not going to do a good job. That's just the way it is. And unfortunately, there are times I go into a game and I'm like, oh, crap, we have so-and-so. He's probably not going to do a good job. And then now conversely, we'll go in and I'll be like, oh, this is going to be a great crew. We're going to have a well-officiated game tonight. And most of the time, that holds true. I think the standoffishness is unnecessary. You're an official here to work a game, and if a coach is asking for an explanation, explain it to him. Unless it's such a bad call and it's a bad call that you don't want to explain it to him. And I think that's, when coach was asking for an explanation, that's not unreasonable as a head coach to expect for the official to come over and talk to you and tell you what happened. And I think that that's the area where, it's obviously it's not a close game at the end of the game when this occurred, but the coach is owed an explanation because one, I want to know why, and two, so I can talk to my kid about it so they don't do it again. There's always teaching going on with a lot of coaches, and Coach Hunter's no different. He wants to be able to teach our kids, hey, that's not okay. This is why he called it. This is what we're doing. Well, if you don't give him a good explanation, how's he supposed to instruct his players to not do it again in the future? So I think it's, I do not miss sitting on the floor at all. I do miss, I shouldn't say that. I really enjoyed sitting on the floor because I enjoyed listening to the huddle. I enjoyed listening to what we're going to do and how, I haven't been sitting next to the table when Coach Hunter's been there, but with Coach Gamber, I enjoyed sitting and listening to what we're going to do and how he talked to the team. And, a lot of that is I find very interesting. Other people probably think it's not cool at all, but I used to love to sit there and know what we're going to do, and especially when the game's on the line and you're trying to draw up a play and just the reaction of the players and who's paying attention and who's not paying attention, and you just see a whole different dynamic, which I do miss that part. I don't miss being on the floor for officials and all that other stuff, trying to see. So much easier to see up top, for sure. I actually got chastised by a referee probably about 3 or 4 years ago saying I needed to be on the floor. I'm like, okay, I don't think so. I'm staying up top. Because there are times when, even though we're doing statistics, we're not official. With the book on the bench or on the table is the official record of who scored, what the score was, who has fouls, all that stuff. So we're technically not the official. We're certainly able to supplement that, but in terms of the actual record of the game, the book is the record of games. So, yeah, I don't miss sitting on the sidelines at all, because there have been some times where when I was younger and a little bit more fiery, that maybe sometimes I said some things that maybe I shouldn't have. So I don't do that anymore because I'm old and hence the old guy radio. But we try not to do that anymore. There's still some times when there's some questionable calls, but that's going to be part of basketball, and certainly that happens to everybody. That's not just special to York.
Yeah. Well, in maybe 1 minute, since it's about all we have time for, can you think of the worst explanation you've heard down at courtside? I
don't know. The one this weekend was pretty bad.
He threw the little guy down.
I think one of the things that kind of stands out is just when an official's being real standoffish and doesn't want to, like he's too big for the game. And there's one guy I have in my mind right now, and I can see his face and I know his name. And every time he officiates, it's like it's his show, and it shouldn't be like that.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be where officials walking around thinking he's the show, because our kids are the show. It's the same for our coaches. I mean, there are plenty of coaches that strut into gyms thinking that they're the cat's meow and they're the God's gift. And the fact of the matter is, they might be a good coach, but it's still about our kids on the floor. It should always be about our kids on the floor. So it can get a little frustrating when the officials are a little full of themselves. But hey, for the most part, I don't want to paint with a broad brush, because I think we have a lot of guys that do a really good job and care about doing a good job.
Yeah.
I think a lot of those guys give their best effort, and really that's you can be a bad official, but if you're consistent and you give great effort, it's hard to give them too much crap, because they're doing the best they can. Yeah. They can't help they're a bad official. It's just like a basketball player who's giving his best, might not be a good basketball player, but that's not his fault, So I think you have to kind of look at it that some way sometimes, and there's also times when the difference between men's officials and women's officials in terms of the sport can be pretty dramatic, and can be a little hard to stomach. We've had some pretty poorly officiated women's games over the years that I'm sure Coach Whitman can attest to, but that's part of it too. That's Division III women's basketball is not going to get the cream of the crop officials. That's just the way it is. So it's there's things that at our level you deal with, and you understand that that's just how it's going to be, and you go from there.
Yeah. Well, they're almost all great, but those were a couple things that stood out to me on Saturday, so that's the basis of Uncle Scott this week.
So what you want to do is you want to go back to sitting on the floor again, huh?
Yeah, whole different perspective.
Oh, it is. I do not miss sitting on the floor at all. I really enjoy having that perch up top and being able to not have to look through bodies to see what's going on.
And we stay out of trouble.
More importantly, we stay out of trouble.
All right, well, that'll just about wrap up this week. Scott, good stuff, and look forward to it again on Monday, and, of course, our games Wednesday and Saturday.
That's right. Hopefully we have some improving weather, maybe a little bit warmer than it was last week, because that wasn't a whole lot of fun last week.
It wasn't good.
No. So can wash all this ice away and hopefully have a nicer week coming up.
Yeah, well, wrestling at home Friday, and then
swimming
on the road
at home
Saturday.
Friday as well.
Swimming at home Friday.
So, yeah, busy weekend. Two things going on Friday night, and then the basketball doubleheader on Saturday. So until then, we're on the road for the rest of the week.
Yeah, basketball on the road Wednesday at Frostburg. We're on at 5:45, and then back home Saturday in Southern Virginia at 1 and 3, and that's pretty much along with wrestling and swimming what's coming up. So a lot to talk about again next week. Hope you can join us then. And Scott, we'll see you back home for Hoops on Saturday, our broadcast then.
We're going to have a great week this week. I can feel
Great
it.
week.
A great week. We're going to have a great week.
All right. I like the attitude. Looking forward to it very much. Thanks a lot for joining us here today on York College Spartans Sports Weekly. Again, Wednesday night, 5:45 from Frostburg. And also tonight, our high school basketball game, Dallastown at Dover, beginning with coverage beginning, I should say, at 7 o'clock. Thanks a lot for listening. Enjoy the rest of your evening. We'll talk to you next week on York College Spartans Sports Weekly.
Your home for York's home team. The York College Spartans play here. Sports Radio 1350. WOYK, York.